Hey everyone, Board Game Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I have a fresh copy of Founders of Teotihuacan. It's a new tile laying, worker placement, super crunchy Euro game by board&dice. So let's get right into this. Each player has their own player board they're trying to fill up with tiles, and everyone plays on the A side where everyone's board matches exactly, or the B side where things are mixed up and the players have asymmetric boards changing up strategies from one from another. There are two areas on the board, the middle and the outside, and all of these areas are also split into 4 different districts. And at the beginning of the game, each player will be able to seed the board with 3 starting pyramid tiles in the middle of the board, gaining the bonuses that they cover up. And this will make more sense after I explain more about the game, but just know you're going to start with 3 pyramid tiles on your board at the beginning of the game. The middle is where you're going to be placing the pyramid tiles to form a pyramid with 9 tiles on the bottom, 4 on top of those, and then 1 possibly on top of all the others. These will initially help giving you bonuses as they will cover up a space on the bottom and you will gain the shown bonus. The second and possibly third layers of this will award you points, but more points than the bottom layer does. The bottom layer then will score you 2 points per matching tile that matches the same color as the pyramid tiles with them both in the same district. The second and third layers award 3 points per matching colored tile, but in the second layer, there will be only 1 tile per district because that's all that's possible. And the top tile of the pyramid will score in all 4 districts, unlike the other layers that only score in the district that they are located in. So that's the pyramid. Now you'll be placing all of your other tiles here on the outside. There are different types of tiles that do different things that I'll cover later, but pretty much you will need to Tetris them together. Whenever you cover up a section of masks with tiles, then you will take the top mask tile that matches the masks that you just covered up. These masks will score you points and more points for the first player who gains them, and then the points will decrease as players take tiles as the game goes on. Of course, tiles can't go off the board, cover up other tiles, or anything like that. They cover up spaces with no tiles on them. And there are tiles from size 1 up to size 5. Now, the last thing to say about the tile placement part of this game is that each player has an architect meeple that goes around the outside of their player board after each turn. When the architect is located on one side of the board, then on that turn, you can only place tiles on that side of the board. Let me place this cutout here to show you how this works. The architect is here, and you can place tiles on this area only, not placing even 1 square on another district. But you can place a tile in the middle of these 2 districts, which, depending on the tile, can greatly benefit you. The next turn, you will then place on these 2 districts. Then the architect moves around after that turn, and you can place tiles in only these 2 districts, and so on. After 4 turns, you're back to where you started. And that's the tile placement portion of the game. But this game is so much more than just a tile laying game. It has a worker placement type mechanic to take actions on your turn. You start the game with either 6 or 5 action discs, depending on if you're playing a 2-player game or a 3 or 4-player game. On your turn, you must either perform an action or you pass. To perform an action, you will place between 1 to 3 of your action discs on an action space on the main board. The locations that you can choose from are the ones that already contain at least 1 disc, either a bonus disc that no one has played on yet, or a bonus disc that another opponent has placed their discs on already. Each action space can only hold a maximum of 4 action discs, including the starting bonus disc. Your action strength is equal to the total number of discs on an action space. This can be from the ones that you placed on a bonus disc at the beginning of the round, or it can be playing on top of a stack another player has played on, which will make your action stronger because there will be more discs there. But when playing on a bonus disc that no one has played on yet, you'll be able to take the bonus action in addition to your normal action. So as the game goes on, you can take advantage of the action spaces where other players have placed their discs on, making your action stronger, or you can take advantage of the bonus disc that no one else has placed on yet, giving you the bonus action. Now keep in mind that your strength will only affect the actions that you take on the top of the board, and will most likely dictate the size of tile that you can take when doing that action. Now let's go over this board and then the bonus disc so you know what actions you can possibly take in the game. So there are 3 main sections on the main board, and when placing your discs on one of these sections, you will either take the build action, which is the space on the top of these tiles, or you will take the influence action, which is the action on the bottom in the green. You will only be able to choose one of these, although sometimes a bonus disc will let you take an additional action, sometimes anywhere on the board. You should know that each section has a number of tiles based on the player count, and throughout the round, the tiles are not replaced, so it's first come, first served, at least until the next round. And this is for all the tiles except for the worship tiles, which I will explain here shortly. This first area on the left here will let you construct one of these tiles, depending on your strength when placing your disc or discs. The size 2 buildings require 2 or more action strength. A size 3 building will require 3 or more action strength, and a size 4 building will require a 4 action strength. These buildings produce resources that you will be able to use during the game. The brown produces wood, the gray produces stone, and the gold produces gold. How this works is when you place these tiles on your player board, all orthogonally adjacent spaces that are not occupied by another tile will be places where you can add the matching resource to your board. You can use these resources with other actions at any time, and it doesn't matter where your architect is located when using any of your resources. All of these resources are needed in the game to add these temple tiles, which is the next section I'm going to talk about, to also purchase pyramid tiles when needed. Gold is the best resource to have because 2 gold can always convert to any other 1 resource. So let's go over the temple section here in the middle of the board now. Here you can always construct a temple of any size regardless of your current action strength. However, if the temple that you choose is larger than your action strength, then you will pay additional resources to make up the difference. So a stronger action strength is still awesome to have, but you can still get these tiles with a lower action strength if you have the resources on your board to pay for it. As you can see here, the green temple costs 1 stone and 1 wood. And then if your action strength is lower than the 3, then you will need to pay 1 additional wood for each strength point under that 3. The blue temple costs 2 stone, and if you're at an action strength of 4, which is the highest that you can be at, then you can get that tile and that's all. But if you're not at an action strength of 4, then you will pay 1 additional wood for each strength that you are under to get to 4. The red temple costs 1 stone and 1 gold, and then you will most likely need to be paying more stone depending on how strong your action strength is. Each time that you get a temple tile, you will also take one of the 2 worship tiles of the matching color that are flipped up, and they will give you points when you fulfill what it states on that tile. You can think of these as contracts in the game, and they will award you points, but it'll also drastically change your strategy to match the things that are stated on these tiles. You will take one of these worship tiles and place it on your player area to be fulfilled at a later time. This last build action is to construct the pyramid. All pyramid tiles are considered to be of size 4. And regardless of your current action strength, you can still build a pyramid tile, but you will need to pay extra resources to do so to make up the difference. Pyramid tiles cost 2 gold and 1 wood. And then you'll need to pay an additional gold for each point of action strength below 4. You will then place the pyramid tile on your board, remembering where your architect is located, as you can only place it on one of the slots available at that time. After placing your pyramid tile, you will then receive 2 victory points, and also you will receive the depicted reward that you covered up when placing the pyramid tile on your player board if it was on the lowest layer. Now, starting back to the left of the board, you can, instead of building, you can do the influence action. This influence action will let you choose one of 2 things. First, you can add 0 or 1 resource next to each of your existing buildings. This would be the resource that matches the building type, 1 resource per building tile. Or the second option is you can add 2 size 1 buildings to your city. This would either fill in little gaps left behind, or you can strategically place these so that you can add more of that resource to your player board. If you have space on your player board, this could give you 8 total new resources, 1 resource around each side of that 1 square times 2. This next influence action will let you choose one of your worship tiles that you have in front of you and resolve it, most likely giving you points. You must meet the requirement stated on that worship tile to be able to fulfill it. That tile is then returned face down to the bottom of the stack. Essentially, this is an action used to complete that contract. The last influence action is to gain favor. You'll move your token to the next space on the favor track and receive the indicated number of victory points. Also, you may return one of your existing worship tiles that you have in front of you to the bottom of its stack, matching the color, and then you can take any one face-up worship tile of any kind. This will let you swap tiles for another one that you are more likely to complete, or to swap one that you like better. And those are all the build and influence actions that you can take on this main board. But remember, if you're the first one to place your disc on a bonus disc, then you can, in addition, take its bonus action. Let's go over these so you can see how effective they can be. And again, to gain this bonus action, you got to be the first one to place your disc or discs on top of this bonus disc. And these bonuses can be performed either before or after performing your normal action. This one will let you perform any influence action on the board. It doesn't have to be the one below this action space. This one will let you perform any build action. It does not have to be the one above this action space that you're at, but you must adhere to the architect's reach, and the action strength of this stack is used when performing the build action. This bonus gets you 2 victory points. This one will let you receive 1 victory point, and in addition, take one of any resource and place it in any valid space on your city, ignoring your architect's reach. And lastly, this one will let you receive a point, and then you can calculate your action strength as if it was 1 higher, meaning that your minimum action strength is 3 instead of 2. That would be 1 for the disc, 1 for the bonus disc that you're placing on, and 1 for this bonus. Don't forget, at the end of your turn, you need to move your architect clockwise to the next side of the player board. This is the most easily forgotten rule, and players should help each other to remember this. After all players have passed, the current round ends, and you will move the sun marker 1 space closer to the eclipse marker. Everyone will take their discs back and will permanently remove 1 of them for each player. This will make the next round a little shorter, giving you probably less turns and not as much oomph. All bonus discs will then be shuffled again and placed out randomly for each spot on the main board according to the player count, and all tiles are then refilled back on the board like it was set up at the beginning of the game. The first player marker is then passed to the next player clockwise, and a new round begins. Once the sun marker is on the same space as the eclipse marker, the game is over and you will do final scoring. In final scoring, again, you will match pyramid colors to tiles of the same color in that district that you will score. You will go district to district, and in that one district, you will score all colors where you have at least that color pyramid and also a temple of the same color. Remember that the second and third layers of the temple tiles will score more points as well. And all pyramid tiles and temple tiles on the border between the 2 districts are used in scoring in both of those districts. The player then with the most points wins the game. Let me start by saying this game makes me very happy. I really like the combination of the tile placement and the worker placement with the contracts and the way that you can form your own strategy with the worship tiles, but then you can blend with all of the other players when placing your discs, as you can place your discs on theirs to gain a stronger action and a bigger tile and then cover up more space on the board. So it's a game that does have player interaction. However, you're not attacking each other and everyone is chugging along, trying to take the best spot of trying to take advantage of what a previous player has done. Complexity-wise, it reminds me of Planet Unknown, another tile placement game that has that higher complexity with it. But it's different, as I feel like the tile placement isn't so strong in this game. It doesn't take over the game like it does in Planet Unknown, because this game has that worker placement mechanic with your discs that can really affect how you do in the game. The worship tiles are important to get those points, and I like how there are ways to swap out worship tiles for others when they come up so that you don't get stuck with one strategy, but rather you're able to be flexible, changing with how the game changes. I also like that there are several ways to score points. Here a little, there a little, and then planning to score bigger points with the worship tiles, and then also scoring those points from covering up the masks on your player board. You will be pulled several ways trying to figure out which point generator is the best at that time, but you really can't tell who's actually going to win the game with all this going on because those pyramid tiles can drastically change scoring at the very end of the game if a player had planned super well with the tiles on the board. The game is definitely making my top 10 games of 2022 so far, although it's only March and there's a lot more games out there to be played, but I still anticipate it to be on the top 10 games of 2022 at the end of the year. So design the city of Teotihuacan with your family and friends in Founders of Teotihuacan by Board&Dice.
Again, this is Board Game Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.